Hello and welcome to Continental Prime here on News Central Television, reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm Sulaiman Aled. The headlines for this hour. Death toll from South Africa's protest rises to 72 as looters continue to ravage parts of the country. Nigerian lawmakers reject nomination of a presidential aide as election commissioner. Large container ship Ever Given goes home more than 100 days after blocking the Suez Canal. Details shortly. Well, the news begins in South Africa, where at least 72 people have died as looters continued to ravage through parts of the country, causing damage to property and destroying shopping malls and businesses. South Africa's national defense have been deployed to parts of the Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal province to assist the police in trying to quell the violence. The violence erupted over the weekend, starting as a call to release former President Jacob Zuma, who was incarcerated last week. But it has turned into a violent looting spree. Businesses, already struggling due to the COVID-19 pandemic, have been hard hit by vandalism and robberies and are counting cost into millions of rands. Tonight, I'm joined by South African journalist and editor Candace Bailey to unpack this issue. Good to see you again, Candace. What is the latest about these protests in South Africa?
Good evening, Sulaiman. Certainly a trail of destruction that has really hit parts of Gauteng and KwaZulu-Natal over the past 4 days, and particularly today. What we know is that at least 2 more provinces have seen some looting attacks. Mpumalanga and the Northern Cape have also had the start of some attacks. We know that police have stepped in and are trying to contain those incidents to make sure that they don't spread too far. But we do know that of the 72 people that have so far died, 52 of those deaths happened in the last 24 hours. Yesterday, when our president addressed us, telling us that the Defence Force had been deployed to help the police, he had only mentioned 10 deaths, and now we're sitting at 72. The police have confirmed that of those 72 cases, several of them are murders, but some of them are inquests where people have died during stampedes, where ATMs have been bombed, but definitely a trail of destruction. The police don't seem to be able to have a handle on it. They don't have the capacity to manage the looting, even though the Defence Force is on standby. The police minister today confirmed that he had recalled all members who were on leave and members who were on rest days, telling them that they needed to be on duty to assist with this incident. We also know that he's told the provincial police commissioners in other provinces that have not yet been affected that they really needed to put their prevention operations in place to make sure that they are ready to fight back, if I could put it that way.
You know, Candace, no doubt the police is being overstretched here. And of course, Africa watched President Cyril Ramaphosa address the country yesterday. But there are criticisms that there has been a lack of leadership. How do leaders handle this, going by what we saw from President Ramaphosa yesterday?
Certainly, there has been criticism that the premiers in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng haven't come to the fore. In the past 12 hours, we have seen them, particularly in Gauteng. Premier David Makhura has sent out a statement saying that, the efforts to revitalize our economy are really being ravaged by this. He's noted that there are at least 5 areas in Gauteng that have been affected, where shopping malls, businesses and factories and industrial areas have been affected. And he has actually been on the ground, as has Premier in KwaZulu-Natal in the past 12 hours, Sihle Sikalala, come to the fort, trying to speak to looters, trying to, show some leadership. We also know that the new Zulu King will be addressing the Zulu Nation tomorrow afternoon, just as part of the leadership efforts to sort of contain the violence.
Now, many are worried about the locals. Let's talk about the locals. How the looting and violence affecting the locals, on the ground?
I think there are two ways that the looters have been affecting the people on the ground, Suleiman. On the one side, there is panic that has set in. I think people are concerned that there are going to be fuel shortages, there are going to be food shortages in weeks to come. And particularly in KZN, we've seen reports of people standing in long queues at shopping centers trying to stockpile goods in case things do get bad. On the other side, I think aside from the panic, there's also a little civilian support coming through where ordinary people are really taking the law into their own hands. Particularly this evening in Soweto, we're seeing some South Africans actually standing guard outside shopping malls and saying, actually not in our name, we're not allowing this looting to take place. We also know that some South Africans are stopping vans of looters and unloading goods and then handing these men over to the police. So there is some strain of accountability and citizens really taking a stand. Also, businesses are also taking the law into their own hands and protecting their properties and their businesses from being looted any further.
You know, among the casualties are the formal business owners. Is there any formal statement from this group of business owners?
Suleiman, definitely, they are counting losses into the millions, as we said. So far, we know that one of our big oil refineries has issued a statement saying that they are unable to operate. They are actually closing they're shutting down for the time being. They're unable to get various goods. We do know that certain businesses, retailers, particularly in KZN, saying that they are KZN based and they won't be able to operate. They're going to be very hard hit. Agri SA, which is our big agricultural organization in South Africa, has also said that the agricultural sector would really be hard hit in KZN. There are definitely going to be delays in the delivery of produce in weeks to come, and they are really saddened by what's happening and saddened by the effect that it's going to have on their businesses and on the economy.
I'd like to, ask this more like a political question. Do you think this is affecting the gains of the ANC as a ruling political party so far in South Africa?
Of course it is. Of course it is, Suleiman. I think that what we're seeing is, I think lots of people are unhappy with what seems to be a lack of leadership and not taking action fast enough to deal with these things. There've been calls for us to enter a state of emergency. And obviously the government has said that they will not enter into a state of emergency, as the state of emergency is obviously affiliated with apartheid and the abuse of it during apartheid. But it is allowed for in our constitution. And considering the state of play at the moment, lots of people's lives and livelihoods are being affected by what's happening. And I think that the ANC must take responsibility for this in some way.
Well, Candice Bailey, many thanks for unpacking this for us.
Thanks, Suleiman.
Well, still on the protest in South Africa, Botswana has issued a travel advisory against its neighbors. In a statement on Tuesday, Botswana's Ministry of International Affairs and Cooperation advised its citizens to avoid unnecessary travel to some parts of South Africa. The statement particularly warns against visits to KwaZulu-Natal provinces and Gauteng province owing to the ongoing incidents of violence and unrest in those areas. Botswana truck drivers have also been advised to consider alternative routes to avoid protest areas. Now, from the south, let's move to the east of the continent, where United Nations humanitarians have appealed to better access to Ethiopia's Tigray region after it took days for first aid trucks to reach the local capital, Mekelle. A spokesperson for the United Nations World Food Programme, Thomson Phiri, said the aid trucks carried urgent food aid needs for more than 200,000. Phiri explained that free aid deliveries are crucial in the northern Ethiopian region. 4 million people need emergency food assistance after more than 8 months of conflict between regional and central government forces. Latest reports from Tigray indicate that healthcare provision is non-existent in many areas.
A United Nations World Food Programme WFP convoy of 50 trucks arrived in the Tigrayan capital of Mekelle Monday with 900 metric tons of food as well as other emergency supplies. It was the first humanitarian convoy to reach Tigray since WFP restarted operations in the northwest on 2 July following fighting. What is important here is to note that the convoys are going through rigorous checks. It should not be like that. We need to send in convoys every day from now on so that we are able to meet demand. We therefore are appealing for a quicker and smoother passage into the region as soon as possible. We need 100 trucks to be moving in on any given day for half the time we are to reverse the catastrophic humanitarian situation in the region.
While staying in Ethiopia, the head of the UN Refugee Agency is calling for an investigation following reports of reprisals, abductions, arrest and violence against Eritrean refugees. Filippo Grandi expressed his concern about widespread attacks against refugees committed by numerous armed players in the May Aini and Adi Harish refugee camps, primarily at night. Mr. Grandi urged the federal government and the Tigray regional government to initiate formal investigations into all credible allegations. He also called for an end to the violence and intimidation directed at Eritrean refugees and used the manipulation of the refugees and use and manipulation of refugees for political benefits. Now, Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission says over 500,000 Nigerians have taken advantage of its online continuous voters registration exercise. The head of Nigeria's electoral management body, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, while giving an update of the Commission's ongoing voter registration exercise in Abuja, says youth, middle-aged Nigerians, elderly persons, and even aged Nigerians over 70 years have all been recorded to have taken part in the registration exercise. Professor Yakubu asked persons living with disabilities to indicate their physical challenges clearly while filling the online forms so that the Commission can make adequate preparations for them during future elections.
As at 7 a.m. yesterday, Monday, 12 July 2021, exactly 2 weeks since the exercise began, a total of 542,576 Nigerians have completed the online pre-registration. Out of this figure, 456,909 are fresh registrants, while 85,667 have applied for voter transfer, replacement of the PVCs, update of voter information. The Commission has requested registrants to indicate their disability, if any. This will enable us to optimally and efficiently deploy assistive voting devices such as Braille ballot guide and magnifying glasses for persons with special needs at polling units on election day. So far, we have data for 6,558 registrants who have clearly indicated their type of disability. We have assured Nigerians that the CVR exercise, which commenced on 28 June 2021, will continue for the next 1 year.
The Nigerian Senate has rejected a presidential aide, Loretta Onochie, as a commissioner for the country's election umpire. The rejection on Tuesday followed a massive outcry that has trailed her nomination, especially from members of the opposition and civil society organizations, who claim she won't be non-partisan because she's a member of the ruling All Progressives Congress. Ms. Onochie serves currently as the personal assistant to the president on new media.
I think it's a fantastic idea. The National Assembly or the Senate finally summoned the courage to do the right thing in respect of Onochie. You see, there were a whole lot of games being played there. There were instances of Onochie defending herself, saying she has resigned from APC. In the mind of the people that wrote the laws, and in normal common sense situation, it is not about being a member of a party by carrying card. It is actually about partisanship. Onoche, even if she has resigned from a party, from APC, has been deeply partisan. How do you now say someone who is so deeply partisan qualifies to be an arbiter in an electoral process?
Well, staying in Nigeria, the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Farouk Yahaya, has charged chief clerks to be responsive and professional in discharging their duties as custodians of the Army's documents and records. Today, the Chief of Army Staff gave this charge at a Chief Clerks Convention held at the headquarters 81 Division in Lagos, southwest of Nigeria. Ijema Esekhalai was there for News Central.
In its quest to block the leakages of classified information about the nation's security, the Nigerian Army have launched a training and retraining for its men and the Chief of Clerks. Senior officers of the Nigerian Army who attended the formal opening ceremony charged the participants to uphold the Official Secret Act of the Nigerian Army, which provides the guidelines and regulates their professional conduct.
The workshop is meant to principally ensure that service documents are secured in a manner that will not jeopardize NA operations and administration. The workshop will also provide you a platform to contribute meaningfully towards various dimensions of office management and document security. All this will help you to tune your minds towards playing your expected roles in actualizing my vision, which is to have a professional Nigerian army ready to accomplish assigned mission within the joint environment in defense of Nigeria.
The training provided excellent opportunity to address contemporary challenges facing the country.
It is worthy to mention that chief clerks at all levels are very important for the day-to-day functioning of the Nigerian Army. The roles of chief clerks in every formation and unit in the Nigerian Army cannot be overemphasized. Consequently, chief clerks are expected to be robust, endowed with quick thinking, analytical, and armed with problem-solving skills and, indeed, foresight.
The theme of the convention is enhancing professionalism and responsiveness in Nigerian Army Chief Clerks for optimal performance.
While staying on security matters in Nigeria, army troops have rescued 17 civilians from being kidnapped by suspected Boko Haram terrorists in the northeastern state of Borno. The army, in a statement, said the terrorists had attempted to infiltrate Auno village through the rail line adjacent to the community, but were quickly intercepted by troops in a fierce gun duel. The statement says the rescued civilians have been documented and handed over to the Rapid Response Squad officials for further action. Now, Chief Judges in Nigeria, are expected to issue the notices for judges on vacation despite losing 2 months to an industrial action that paralyzed the judiciary for over 2 months earlier in the year. The vacation, which usually lasts 2 months, is expected to begin this July and usher in the new 2021-2022 legal year in September this year. News Central's Omolola Ololade felt the pulse of Nigerian lawyers in this report.
The judiciary system in Nigeria has witnessed several setbacks lately due to the recent strike by the Judiciary Union Staff of Nigeria, JUSON, which lasted 2 months. And then there was the COVID-19 pandemic and enforced lockdowns. Several Nigerian judges have proceeded on a 2-month vacation at a time Nigerian courts is playing catch-up for time lost. While many had expected that judges would cancel this year's vacation, particularly as the judiciary is still struggling with a huge backlog of cases which have slowed down the administration of justice, legal practitioners in the country have this to say for themselves.
While I, acknowledge that the judges need rest, they are overworked, I also feel that, these breaks in the legal calendar could have afforded them enough rest And just to point this out, last year, the Attorney General actually recommended that the court vacation be abrogated, but that was not heeded too by the judiciary.
We're not doing justice to matters that requires the judge's attention. The judiciary is the last hope of the common man. If we don't have sufficient hands of the judges to decide the fate of human beings, where else would they run to? They will not run to anywhere. So if I were the judges, they would simply abort the long vacation and come to help these litigants.
Also, Nigeria's judges, like every other worker, are entitled to well-deserved rest and to prepare for the challenges of the new legal year. They must consider the people's right to justice largely depends on their presence in courtrooms. Omolola Ololade reporting for News Central.
Finally, the ever-giving is on its way home, more than 100 days after it became wedged in the Suez Canal for nearly a week and disrupting global trade. We'll have details of this and more when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're welcome. You're watching Continent and Prime here on News Central Television, reaching you live from Lagos, Nigeria. Now, the news continues in North Africa, where the ship's focus on the worldwide attention when it blocked the Suez Canal has finally left Egyptian waters. The vessel, called Ever Given, was detained in the area during protracted negotiations in which the canal authorities were demanding compensation. The Ever Given has resumed her journey more than 100 days after it became wedged in the busy canal, blocking it for nearly a week and disrupting global trade. The settlement was concluded last Wednesday after an undisclosed sum was agreed upon. Staying in North Africa, the Moroccan police has seized 5.82 tons of cannabis and arrested 6 suspects for alleged links to a drug trafficking network. In a statement on Tuesday, the police said the operation was carried out in the town of Bouznika near Casablanca, Morocco's economic hub. The banned substance, concealed in dozens of packages, was seized by police on board 2 cars. The police say the suspects were taken into custody for investigation under the supervision of the competent prosecutor's office. Now let's look at our continued coverage of the coronavirus pandemic on the continent. Let's start looking at it from the east of Africa, where Kenya has reported 761 more COVID-19 cases from more than 5,000 samples tested in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate jumped from 8% the previous day to 13.1%, while the number of confirmed cases rose above 189,000 after more than 2.02 tests conducted so far. Now, Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe said the youngest new patient was 6-month-old and the oldest 96 years old, while 727 were Kenyans and 34 foreigners. The minister said 9 additional deaths were recorded about the virus, raising the death toll to 3,732. Now, South Sudan's health officials say more than 50,000 people have had their first COVID-19 jab, and vaccines have been sent to all of the country's regional states. However, there's still a long way to go, given the country's total population stands at 11 million people and its insecurity and infrastructure challenges. Now, South Sudan has used 90% of the remaining 60,000 doses of its total number of vaccines from the COVAX facility. In West Africa, Nigeria's National Primary Healthcare Development Agency says it has completed its first phase of the COVID-19 vaccination campaign, with about 3.9 million persons receiving jabs of both first and second doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines. The executive director of the agency, Dr. Faisal Shoaib, says the new doses of vaccines will be used to execute the second phase of the country's vaccination drive. He said the country expects another 3.9 million doses of Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines from the World Health Organization COVAX facility.
The country has officially ended the first phase of its strategic COVID-19 vaccination plan and is now preparing to commence the second phase in the next few weeks. We have also received communication about the delivery of the following vaccine shipments in the coming weeks: 3,577,860 doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech or Moderna COVID-19 vaccine in Q3 from the COVAX facility. 29,850,000 doses of the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine procured by the federal government through the African Union.
We must be mindful of discontinuing public health and social measures. Lifting them too early could see us losing some of the gain that the vaccine have enabled us to make. On our part, WHO will support Nigeria to maintain strong surveillance and detection system, reassess and bolster treatment capacity, and advocate for stepping up the supply of critical medicine, including medical oxygen, for the treatment of severely ill patients.
As Nigeria stands up in the rest of Africa and in the world as a leader on this vaccination, we must prepare through good social mobilization, through the traditional and religious leaders, through community leaders, to ensure that all people understand the criticality of taking the vaccine and the low risk that it has for it.
Well, in the meantime, 161 new COVID-19 cases were recorded by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control on July 12. The NCDC disclosed this on its website on Tuesday morning, adding that the new infections were recorded in 3 states: Lagos, Gombe, Oyo, Rivers, and the Federal Capital Territory. Now, the total number of infections in the country is now over 168,000. No deaths were also recorded in the past 24 hours, while more than 2.3 million samples have been tested. In other health matters, a lack of access to safe drinking water and poor personal and environmental hygiene are essential factors that promote the spread of cholera disease. In Africa, this has become a significant source of worry to medical experts on the continent. In this package, News Central's Chidima Nwosu tells us more about how this dreaded disease is ravaging some parts of Africa's largest country, Nigeria.
Cholera is an infectious disease that causes severe watery diarrhea, which can lead to dehydration and even death if untreated. It is caused by eating food or drinking water contaminated with a bacterium called Vibrio cholera. In Nigeria, between January and June 2021, thousands of cases have been reported in Bauchi, Gombe, Kano, Plateau, and Zamfara. The infectious disease seems to be very dominant in the northern states.
The condition in the north, the same stream or the same well that humans drink from is where animals drink from. And that's where they have their bath, the same water they cook with, the same water they use in doing their sanitation. And you know how this cholera, the bacteria gets in. It's through the feces of any individual.
The proportion of people who die from reported cholera remains higher in Africa than anywhere else. In the past, cholera infections were common in many countries around the globe. Now, they are mostly confined to developing regions because the disease is associated with poor nutrition, poor water quality, and poor sanitation. Living in urban and peri-urban slums promote cholera as well. This is because regular water supply and toilet facilities are not adequately available. Only 26.5% of the Nigerian population used improved drinking water sources and sanitation facilities, and 23.5% defecates in the open.
Cholera has actually been described as the disease of poverty because of the social risk factors that play significant roles in its transmission. And actually there is a cholera vaccine, but it doesn't 100% give a guarantee that someone will not have cholera. It's not even part of our routine immunizations. So I think the best approach that our government can use to improve on what they have done before is to use a multi-sectoral approach.
The Nigerian government has made some efforts to control the disease. However, these are usually implemented after outbreaks. Chidima Nwosu, reporting for News Central.
Still ahead, United Nations Secretary General calls for decisive action on the coronavirus pandemic and climate crisis. More on this when we return. Join us again. Well, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has called for decisive action to spur a recovery from the pandemic, defeat the climate crisis, and keep the promise of the 2030 agenda. Mr. Guterres made the call today while speaking at a high-level political forum on sustainable development in New York. They noted that the world needs at least 11 billion doses to vaccinate 70% of the world and end the pandemic. He also explained that if COP26 in Glasgow is a turning point, the world needs all countries to commit to achieving net zero by mid-century.
We need a clear plan to fulfill this pledge and establish an essential level of trust in multilateral climate action. And we also need to accelerate the transition from coal, oil and gas to renewable energy by adding green jobs and reducing inequalities. While public finance is key, large-scale private finance is also essential. Third, we must heed the lessons of this crisis and invest in more equal and inclusive societies. This calls for every country to provide a foundation of opportunity for all by expanding access to universal health coverage, social protection, quality education and digital connectivity. We need to focus on the transformative impact of shifting power dynamics through ambitious measures for gender equality and gender balanced leadership.
Well, the United Nations Refugee Agency is warning of a looming humanitarian crisis in Afghanistan amid the escalating conflict in the country. According to UNHCR, an estimated 270,000 Afghans have been newly displaced inside the country since January this year, primarily due to insecurity and violence. The agency urged the international community to support the government and people of Afghanistan and its neighbors at this critical moment in a spirit of solidarity and burden sharing. UN Deputy Spokesperson Farhan Haq said the needs of those who have had to flee suddenly are acute.
UNHCR and partners, as part of a coordinated response, are assisting newly displaced Afghans with emergency shelter, food, health, water and sanitation support, and cash assistance, despite challenges in accessing vulnerable groups. UNHCR warns that a failure to reach a peace agreement in Afghanistan and stem the current violence will lead to further displacement within the country, as well as to neighboring countries and beyond. He emphasized that UNHCR calls on all parties.
An audit report has shown Nigeria lost 42.25 million barrels of crude oil valued at $2.77 billion to oil theft in 2019. The Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative report showed Nigeria earned $34.22 billion from the oil and gas sector in 2019. That's a 4.88% increase over the $32.63 billion realized in 2018. The 2019 report released today covered 98 entities, including 88 oil and gas companies, 9 government agencies, and the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas Company. It recommended that the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation should adopt a proper surveillance measures to prevent future losses. For the rest of the business news, let's join my colleague Lekon Onabanjo.
Hello and welcome to Business News on NC Continental Prime. I am Lekon Onabanjo. We start off in Kenya, where the government has announced plans to construct a 100 million Kenyan shillings cotton ginnery in Lamu County in a bid to revive cotton farming. According to Lamu County Governor Fahim Toha, the ginnery will be set up in the Sinanbio area and is expected to have a capacity to process 20,000 metric tons of cotton fiber annually. Cotton farming in Kenya has been on a downward spiral since late 1990, when the country produced more than 38,000 metric tons. Lamu is one of the largest cotton-growing counties in Kenya, with an estimated 3,000 metric tons of cotton produced annually. However, due to the proliferation of second-hand clothes, cotton production has plunged to an all-time low of 3,495 metric tons last year. Now, some changes have occurred in the business landscape in Uganda. The Bank of Uganda, BOU, has completely taken over the regulation of mobile money services from the Uganda Communications Commission amidst anxiety and fears from customers. Last month, the BOU licensed 3 firms to undertake mobile money services under new rules that require them to delink from mobile cash transfer from communication services for ease of regulation. Bank of Uganda licensed 3 new companies. These new licenses were given to Airtel Mobile Commerce Uganda Limited, MTN Mobile Money Uganda Limited, and MS Wave Transfer Limited, which was permitted to operate under the regulatory sandbox setup. Other applicants included Africell, Mcash, Easy Money, Interswitch, and Uganda Telecom. Let's now tell you that South Africa's state-owned rail company, Transnet, is investigating a second derailment in weeks on the nation's main coal export line. A locomotive traveling from Richards Bay, the site of Africa's biggest coal terminal, derailed on July 11, shortened the route until the following day, the company said by email. Just 8 days earlier, a coal train had run off the tracks on its way to the terminal, interrupting service. The incidents threatened the steady transport of more than 70 million tons of coal a year to Richards Bay. Transnet has said it plans to reduce its dependence on outside contractors on concerns that they may benefit from emergency procurement connected to the derailments. And away from that, the group of 7 countries and multilateral partners, including the International Finance Corporation, the African Development Bank, and the European Investment Bank, have announced plans to jointly invest $80 billion in Africa's biggest sector over the next 5 years. According to the UK government, the funds will go towards supporting the long-term development goals of African economies. Renewable power, agriculture, infrastructure, manufacturing, and technology are some of the sectors set to benefit from the investments. The financial development institutions aim to provide clean and reliable energy to millions of people, increase access to finance, create jobs, and reduce poverty throughout the continent. In addition, at the start of this year, UK-based development finance institution CDC Group unveiled a plan to invest $1 billion in key markets in Africa, including Egypt, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Nigeria. Now, insurance packages are regarded as lifesavers in debilitating situations, but are plagued by the integrity of insurance firms and payouts. Inasmuch as some Africans are aware of the importance of owning an insurance and benefits associated with it, they are skeptical about activating one. Recently, I asked some people about insurance. Life insurance is a legal financial contract that provides cover in an unforeseen circumstance linked with human life, such as terminal or critical illness, death, accident, retirement, and even permanent or temporary disability. When any of these happens, there is loss of income to the household, and a guaranteed monetary sum could be determined and paid to the policyholder based on the loss of income at present or income in future years. The policyholder, that is, the person being insured, is expected to commit to a periodic payment. The question, however, remains, how many people really know and do have a life insurance package or policy?
Having grown up and gone to school, currently working, yes, I have an insurance package, a life insurance package. In our economy, we have a lot of dependence on because of the level of unemployment, so it is beneficial.
As assuring as it may be, it is not without its challenges, which often make the insurers insecure.
There's a lot of widespread, feeling or notion that insurance companies don't get to pay, when there are claims.
If you go through broker, I think it's seamless, but if you go alone, then we might have some challenges.
No one is excluded from owning a life insurance, but that is hinged on how many dependents one has, the kind of desired family lifestyle, the support required, and affordability. However, what is expedient is eliminating bottlenecks to encourage more people to buy into the idea of having a more secured future. Lekon Onabanjo reporting for News Central Television. And finally, the Nigerian government will offer 150 billion naira bonds for subscription in July. The Debt Management Office disclosed this in a circular showing the breakdown comprising of 3 bonds worth 50 billion naira each. The bonds are 10-year reopening to be offered at 13.98% and will mature in February 2028. The other 2 are a 20-year reopening to be offered at 12.4% and mature in March 2036, while a 30-year reopening bond is to be offered at 12.98% with a maturity of March 2050. The DMO says the bonds, which will be auctioned on July 19, 2021, have a settlement date of July 23, 2021. And that's it on Business News. Do stay tuned. The news on NC Continental Prime continues shortly.
Many thanks, Lekon. Now, effects of the unrest recorded before, during, and after Sunday's Euro 2020 final are still lingering 2 days after the match was played and the competition came to an end. But Onye Obaro has more on this and other stories. Good to see you again, Onye. Not too good a story.
Good to see you, Sulai. Of course, that's the aftermath of the Euro 2020 after some racial chants. Well, let's take you through the world of sport right now. So we bring you stories coming in right now. Europe's football governing body, UEFA, has opened disciplinary proceedings into security breaches at the Euro 2020 final at Wembley. In a statement on Tuesday, UEFA said its ethics and disciplinary inspector would conduct an investigation. Fans had fought with stewards and police as they attempted to break through gates for Sunday's showcase event. Football Association Chief Executive Mark Billingham apologized to legitimate fans and said the security team had never seen anything like it before. South Africa defeated Lesotho 4-0 in the COSAFA Cup Group A match at the Nelson Mandela Bay Stadium on Tuesday afternoon. The victory saw Bafana secure their place in the semi-finals with a game to spare, while Lukwena bowed out of the regional tournament. Victor Luswalo got a hat-trick, while Sifele Nkulise scored 1 goal that made up the 4-goal tally to ensure South Africa maintained their perfect record in the tournament, having won 3 successive Group A tournaments. Now, the Confederation of African Football President Patrice Motsepe has confirmed that Cameroon will host next year's African Cup of Nations following months of speculation over the future of the 2022 tournament. The South African football boss was clear when he was asked if CAF required a Plan B for staging the 2022 African Cup of Nations in Cameroon. The final draw will be held in August, with the tournament scheduled to be played from January 9 to February 6. However, CAF had to postpone the finals twice because of the global health crisis. Last month, during a visit to Cameroon, Confederation of African Football Secretary General Veron Musengo Omba dismissed rumors that Cameroon could again be stripped of the hosting rights for the flagship tournament. In 2019, the African Cup of Nations was taken away from Cameroon because CAF doubted the country's infrastructure was up to scratch to host the 2014 tournament.
In my mind, we are going to host a very successful AFCON in Cameroon. I have 3 plans. To use the words of somebody else when they were talking about another country. Plan 1 is AFCON 20. Next year will be in Cameroon.
La première, c'est que la prochaine Coupe d'Afrique des Nations, celle de l'année prochaine, se tiendra bel et bien au Cameroun.
Plan 2 is that
le plan numéro 2.
Next AFCON in January will be in Cameroon.
La CAN aura lieu en janvier et au Cameroun.
And plan 3 is that
plan 3.
We're going to host something that should make all of us proud.
Nous allons organiser une Coupe d'Afrique qui nous rendra tous.
Now, finally, in sports, the first batch of Zambia's delegation to the Tokyo Olympic Games left the country on Tuesday. The batch comprises the women's national football team, who are in Group F, alongside China, the Netherlands and Brazil. The team will play its first game against the Netherlands on July 21 before facing China on July 24 and Brazil on July 27. Zambia has picked 30 athletes to compete in 5 sports of football, athletics, boxing, judo and swimming. The Zambia had also sent 2 athletes apart from football, 3 boxers, 1 judoka and 2 swimmers. And that's it in the world of sport at this time. I am Onyechi Obaro. Over to you right now, Sulai, for the rest of the news package.
Well, thanks, Onye. But I think we're going to take a break now because we've got a whole lot from the world of entertainment. When we come back, we'll unveil what we have for you. Stay with us. Well, we join Sam Dandy now for the latest in the world of entertainment. Sammy, good to have you here. I hear that someone is a father, for the 4th time, and quite a lot happening, about keeping this on the wraps.
Of course, yes.
Help unwrap this.
Thank you, Solaz. Of course, someone there is a father. I'll give you all that news here. Right, tonight on Entertainment News. Now, Basketmouth welcomes baby number 3 with his partner. Tanzania's Diamond Platnumz meets with veteran American rapper Snoop Dogg, and Master KG responds to Nomcedo's allegations on the mega hit song Jerusalem. Now, these are more entertainment. I am Sam Dandy. Now, let's start in West Africa, where in a recent post, Nigerian comedian, actor, and musician Basketmouth wished his wife Elsie a happy birthday. Now, the 42-year-old also made a big reveal in the caption, and I quote, "Thanks for updating my fatherhood license a month ago. I am now upgraded to 4. Now, another post by his wife revealed that the couple had another baby together a month ago and have kept it a secret from us, the fans. Now, Elsie revealed that she desperately wanted this after 3 miscarriages. Now, of course, congratulations to the beautiful couple. Now, Basketmouth, who stars in the series Papa Benji, also shared the behind the scenes of season 2 of the sitcom, dropping on the 29th of this month. Here's the clip.
1 6 6 1 pick 1 2.
After a stressful day, I decided to go and cool my temper.
We've started the season 2 shoot. This is the first day we are shooting.
All right, congratulations to the couple. Now to East Africa, where Tanzanian award-winning musician Diamond Platnumz is back-to-back working with some of America's biggest names. Now, the star, less than 24 hours ago, took to share pictures with rap legend Snoop Dogg. Now, if you recall, the recent BET nominee has over the last week shared several pictures and videos with many American music stars in the lineup to his upcoming album. Now, from American rapper Wiz Khalifa to 5-time Grammy Award nominee Sway Lee, Akon, Busta Rhymes, Sweets Beats, and amongst others. While there's very little information about the upcoming album, we look forward to enjoying the contribution these international acts would have on this African body of work. Now, with over 4.1 million views in only 2 weeks, here's his most recent video, Kamata. Right, in Nigeria, let's give some accolades to Grammy Award-winning Wizkid and, of course, the rave of the moment, Thames. Now, the two have today broken into the US Billboard's Top 100 for their hit song, Essence. Now released just 3 months ago off his most recent album, Made in Lagos, the song debuts at number 82 on the United States global charts, becoming the first Nigerian song on the charts. Now, however, this isn't Wizkid's first time on the Hot 100 chart. He got into the charts via his feature on Drake's One Dance, which was a hit and was at number 1 in 2016. And of course, at Beyonce's Brown Skin Girl, which peaked at 76 in 2019. Well, of course, for Thames, this marks her first appearance and we're absolutely loving it. Well, no more talk. Here's Essence by Wizkid featuring Thames. All right, now to South Africa, where Master KG's management has finally responded to allegations by, of course, Mancibo, now stating that, and I quote, "I have not been paid a cent by the label for Jerusalema, despite the song's global success." Now, of course, that song has over 412 million views on YouTube. And now the singer has said that she hasn't been paid a dime. Well, Master KG's management have now addressed the news, stating that they had agreed on 50-50% sharing. And of course, Zikode, who happens to be Mancibo, demanded 70%, something that resulted to a standoff. Now, of course, well, this is their song, Jerusalem. We're all aware of this. All right, now finally today to wrap up the news, there's celebrity and of course our legend, Oluwole Soyinka, has turned 87 and there's no better way to celebrate him than this package. Well, this is entertainment and my name is Sam Dandy. This is a small town called Ake in Ogun State, Nigeria, and the day is Friday, the 13th of July, 1934. It is the birth of a young man, born at a time when Nigeria was under the British rule, lived in an Anglican Christian enclave known as the Parsonage. He was born to a wild Christian and the SA, and was named Akinwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka. At his early age in Abeokuta Grammar School, he won a scholarship to the colony's premier secondary school, the Government College in Ibadan, where he wrote stories and was involved in school plays. He continued on this path for so many years, polishing his wit and penmanship. This path became the beginning of a lifelong journey with notable books and poems to his credit. He was later awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1986, the first African to be so honored. In December 2017, he was awarded the Europe Theatre Prize in the Special Prize category. In 2009, he was conferred the Academy of Achievement's Golden Plate Award. This is a clear story of Ake to the world. At 87, you have and still challenge political oppressors and dictators in Africa and beyond. Thank you, Akinwande Oluwole Babatunde Soyinka, for being an ardent ambassador of Africa, frontline human rights activist, and consummate promoter of African culture. We celebrate you.
Real education is critical in mind formation.
Welcome to News Central's Hall of Fame. And that's all entertainment news. Of course, back to Salai with the rest of the news.
I'm so excited, super excited for all you've done today, Sam Dandy. And
Thank you
by the
very
way,
much.
congratulations, Professor Wole Soyinka.
That's right.
Well, now looking at the weather, Morocco is experiencing a massive heat wave after temperatures reached nearly 50 degrees Celsius over the weekend. Now, the country's weather service said it recorded the hottest day on Saturday. The General Directorate of Meteorology, Sidi Slimani, in the northwest recorded 49.6 degrees. The highs exceeded average monthly temperatures for the time of year by between 5 and 12 degrees. Now, the heat wave in northwest Africa comes from Spain, Canada, and the United States, sweltering in extreme temperatures. Now, our weather desk has more updates of temperatures to expect across Africa on Wednesday. That's all on the news at this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. The death toll from the South Africa's protester has risen to 72 as looters continue to ravage parts of the country. Nigerian lawmakers have rejected the nomination of a presidential aide, Loretta Onoche, as a commissioner in the country's electoral commission. And finally, we told you that a large container ship, the Ever Given, has gone home more than 100 days after it blocked the Suez Canal. Now, follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also download our mobile app on App Store and Play Store. You can also watch News Central live on Star Times Channel 274, AVO TV Channel 23, Vision 247, Free TV, as well as on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sulaiman. I'll later see you again.